This is a podcast that seeks justice. Justice for the lives stolen by those in society that hide amongst us every day. Hidden in our towns, cities, and countrysides, the places that we work, and sometimes in our very own homes. This is Hidden Killers.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Tony Bruschi. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts so you don't miss any of our discussions on the cases that we are following for you right here. Today we are joined by Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, to discuss the case against Bryan Kohberger. Let's jump right into this. Kohberger, we've learned in the last week, fired from his teaching assistant position at Pullman University, just 10 minutes outside of where the murders took place in Moscow, Idaho. But a long string of disciplinary actions taken against him. And one of those actions, one of those, as many say, come to Jesus meetings, where it's like, look, you got to improve in this way or that way, because we're still not seeing it. And it's been brought to our attention multiple times. He's basically being told he's not cutting it. This is a person who seems to think he's very good at what he does, very good educationally at what he does and what he's studying. Many of his professors saying, yeah, he's one of the best students we ever had. But at the same point, now he's getting that criticism there. Another area that he's failing at, as well as his failings with social interactions with women. How much do you think that played a part in him carrying out those murders within 24 hours of being called out on his inadequacies professionally? And he already knew he had issues personally, but he didn't take the blame for that. He blamed the outside world, allegedly, and particularly women. And these seem to be his target. What's your thoughts?
That's a good question. It definitely didn't help. You know, Kohberger, which is completely different type of individual and psychology going on there. The individual, he's a wound collector. Mm-hmm. And he's a victim. And so every time he feels wrong or victimized and he's collecting another wound, it's just one more thing that's going to set him over the edge, that straw that broke the camel's back. So it definitely didn't help. But at the same time, whether it happened yesterday, today, or tomorrow, he was going to do what he was going to do.
What led to my thoughts on that, too, is was there really much of a plot of doing this alleged murder if it was him? Or was he just kind of stalking for sport or twisted education, if you will, considering what he was studying? And something just pushed him over the edge, and that ended up being the date, and that ended up being the time, a perfect storm, if you will, of being rejected and collecting a wound there in his professional life that he was so passionate about and that he thought he was so intelligent at. And then the underlying resentment of women that he had been stalking, seeing the evidence that we have, seeing the women in the basement, they weren't touched whatsoever. Was this just I feel rejected here and I'm already feeling rejected there. Tonight it's going to happen? Because he would have had no idea, when they were going to be out and when they were going to be coming back. It happened to time out that way, and maybe he was watching them get home. But was this really more of a plot, but not necessarily a timed out plot?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It seems like it was a plot that was formulated, strategized, and with his academic background, that's exactly how he planned it. And it was waiting for the opportunity to be executed. And that opportunity would come at some point with whatever trigger was going to make that happen. And whether it was that one incident or not, it was going to happen. And I believe he pre-selected the target, he pre-selected the people, and how he was going to execute it. I mean, it was well thought out with limited experience. Thinking it out is a good way I can think of it.
With your experience in behavioral analysis, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the amount of times he had disciplinary actions taken against him. They don't fire people easily or kick people out of these positions easily. They want them to succeed. They gave him so many chances. What was it about Kohberger's character that he was never able to follow through and meet the expectations that were set for him?
It's the thing that overarches every single human interaction that makes us want to work with someone or not want to work with someone, especially over a period of time, is yes, we care about whether they can follow through and do the things they say they're going to do or not going to do. That's a big part of it. That's half the equation. But the more important part of the equation is, does this person make me feel safe? It's the bedrock of trust. It's a bedrock of cooperation. And if he was having behaviors, and given the type of personality he has, he didn't make people feel safe around him.
Sure.
And over a period of time, if you're not performing or you're underperforming and you don't feel safe, that's a recipe for you're going to constantly be booted out, kicked aside, ostracized. And if you're a wound collector, it just becomes this never-ending pattern of constantly building upon that internal rage and need for retribution.
I think that is very well put. And also that it speaks to his problems with women. He doesn't make them feel safe. And I think he was completely unaware of that it was him that wasn't making them feel safe. This is why he's being rejected at every turn, because he didn't seem to have the compass on how to just act at a level of calmness or normality. It was always a behavior of something that would make the women get a red flag right away, probably without him even saying much. Just his demeanor, his presence has this, exudes, there's something on edge or something weird about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, if it looks like, again, I'm not a professional in this one, and he didn't take as my friend Chris Mahoney says, the 22 or 23 point, test for psychopathy. But if he's edging up towards psychopathy, which it looks like he is, lack of empathy, lack of understanding of others, basically lack of an internal emotional compass, what happens is you try to have behaviors that you think people are looking for, and you immediately have this incongruence between what you look like and what you're saying and what emotionally you're feeling. And that was what completely creeps people out, because of an incongruence between your nonverbal behavior and what you're saying. And it just completely throws things off, because there's no organic, sincere, genuine emotions coming out of him. He's trying to pretend, or individuals with this are trying to pretend who they are. And if you're seeking female companionship, it's even more exasperated, just because they're trying to be attractive. They're trying to be someone desirable, and it's even more pronounced than it is if you're not trying to do that. And
that would make sense, and it's understandable why someone like Kohberger would constantly be frustrated, even when he maybe was authentically trying to be a good guy, if you will. It still wouldn't come across that way. And he would be utterly frustrated as to, what am I doing wrong, if he's just doesn't have the, whatever it is in oneself to recognize those traits.
Yeah, I think he got to a point, because we saw in his earlier writings online, he knew there was something off in him, and he knew there's something wrong in him.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything yet, and there might be there because I just haven't seen it, where he was actually taking action to seek help for the things he knew was wrong with him. That could have made all the difference. Again, and sure. People, that's the most tragic thing in every single one of these cases, where we see unhealthy behavior early on. Everyone's got the hindsight is 2020, and it's, oh yeah, I saw it coming, or oh yeah, all these things were wrong when he was younger, or all these behaviors, and yeah, geez, it's just it's so sad, because I mean, look at the time period between him writing those things when he was a teenager to now. That's a huge amount of time of building, of no intervention, either by his own actions or someone else's actions that are close enough to him, saying, get help.
Sure. This might be a stretch, but I'm curious to get your insight. There's some cold cases in both the Pacific Northwest and Pennsylvania regions of the country, but there are cold cases everywhere. What is the likelihood that Kohberger is involved in anything else that we're not aware of yet?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. I'm not a cold case kind of guy, but given given how he executed this, and it seemed very academic is the best way I can put it. It didn't look like, to me, my impression is that he didn't have reps.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, this looked like it was his first time actually executing at this level.
Yeah,
because it seemed pretty academic is the only way I could say it. He knew not to put stuff in his trash can, so he put it in his neighbor's trash can. Well, if he'd done it before, he knew not to put it in the neighbor's trash can either. I mean, there's a lot of things in there that say this was an attempt by someone who read a lot of books and did a lot of study and was overconfident in the fact that he is smart and could execute. If he had some reps in already, from other cold cases, I'd kind of suspect he would have been better at it, is the only way to put it.
Robin Dreeke, your insight is priceless. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking about the case against Bryan Kohberger. Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent and chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts so you don't miss any of our stories and breaking updates that we're following for you right here. You can follow me off the air on Twitter at TonyBPod. Until next time, for all of us here, I am Tony Bruschi. Thanks for listening.